That means it's time for us to get started. Very welcome to all of you for being here this evening. This is our sequences and series extension session. Every Thursday evening at 6 to 7, we're going to be doing an advanced class, and it basically leads on from what we were doing in the 2 previous lessons, or you can attend it on your own. It doesn't really matter. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the more sort of difficult problem solving application type questions that we get asked in this section. Okay, so the section lends itself very nicely to problem solving. So that's a component that we need to look at. All right, so when it comes to arithmetic sequences and series, we have 2 formulae that we use. We have our TN formula, which is our term formula. So let's just write that over here for you. So that's this one over here. So this is the term formula. And we have, let's change colors here. We have our SN formula. So that's this one over here. And that is our sum formula. Often for matrics, the hardest thing to get right is knowing which formula you need to use. Everything else that you have to do, where you've got to cross multiply or multiply both sides by 2 and extend brackets, that's all grade 8, grade 9, grade 10 work. Okay, but it's knowing which formula you need to use. That's really what matric is all about. Before we get started on the extension work, I just want to have a little bit of a discussion with you about the term formula. It's very important that you know that for arithmetic sequences and series, we can write term 1 as A. We can write term 2 as A plus 1 difference. Term 3 can be written as A plus how many differences? Does anybody know how many differences we would need to add? 2 differences. Quite right, Sipasihle. Okay, 2 differences. So this is really important. This only applies for arithmetic sequences and series because there is a constant difference. So then term 4 would be written as A plus 3 differences. Okay, so, and etc., etc., etc. And this is where the TNA plus N minus 1D comes from. So there's always the value of the difference being added is always going to be 1 less than the term number. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's have a look at the first example. Let me just see if I can make it a little bit bigger because I think that's quite small. All right, and they have asked us to determine the first 3 terms of an arithmetic sequence if the 5th term of the sequence is 12 and the 14th term is minus 33. So when we see a question like this is a question that wants us to use simultaneous equations in order to be able to solve. So what we would do, matrix, is this. We would write term 5 as A plus 4 differences is 12. The 14th term we would write as A plus 13 differences is negative 33. There are our 2 equations. And now we need to solve simultaneously. When it comes to solving simultaneously, there are so many different things that we could do here, so many different options. And provided whatever you did was correct, you would still get all the marks. I personally prefer, when I'm solving simultaneously and I'm working with 2 linear equations, I like to use the elimination method. So I'm going to show you elimination just because it's, in my opinion, it's the quickest and easiest. But if you also want me to do it by substitution, I'm more than happy to do that. What I want to do is I want to eliminate my A term by subtracting the one equation from the other. So now we're working in columns because remember we can only subtract like terms. So A minus A means that A has been eliminated. 13 minus 4 means that there are 9 D's left over, and minus 33 minus 12 is going to leave us with minus 40 5. Okay, now we're going to divide both sides by 9, and that means that the difference in this particular case has got to be -5. It makes sense because if the 5th term is 12 and the 14th term is -33, the difference has to be negative, right? Because the numbers are getting smaller. So that makes sense. Is there anybody who would like me to do this by substitution, or does this make sense? Yes, I see there's a hand up. Who's got a hand up? Oh, Sipasihle, go for it. Please use the other method. Okay, all right, Sipasihle, I see you on the chat. All right, fine, not a problem. So Sipasihle, the other thing that you could do if you wanted to do it by substitution is this, all right? So you would need to choose which letter you're going to make the subject of the formula. Because you've got one A in the red equation and one A in the blue equation, it makes sense to make A the subject of the formula. So let's say we decide that we're going to work with a red equation and we're going to make A the subject of the formula, which means I would have to transpose the 4D. So A would be equal to 12 minus 4D, it's now on the other side. Now, Sipasihle, I want to go and substitute. So A, so now I'm going to have to sub into the other equation. So in place of A, so A plus 13D is minus 33. So in place of this A over here, I'm going to write 12 minus 4D. Okay, plus 13D equals negative 33. So now I want to transpose the 12 over to the other side. So on the left, I'm going to be left with minus 4D plus 13D. And on the right, I've got minus 33 minus 12. Here I end up with my 9D, just like I did when I was doing it by elimination. And here I end up with my minus 45, divide both sides by 9, and D is equal to negative 5. So the nice way about doing it, or the nice thing about doing it by elimination, so elimination was this one on the left, rather than substitution, is that elimination is just a little bit faster. Okay, you don't have to do that if you're not comfortable with it. If you'd rather substitute, go right ahead. The choice is completely yours. Okay, all right, now let's go back and finish answering the question, right? They wanted us to work out the first 3 terms of the pattern. We know what the difference is, but in order to work out the first 3 terms of the pattern, what they're really saying to us, term 1 is A, so we need A. We need term 2, which is A plus 1 difference, and we need term 3, which is A plus 2 differences. So not only do we need to calculate D, we also need to calculate A. So that's going to be the next step. All right, so now calculating A, I can use this equation over here, or I could use either one of these 2 equations that I started with. All right, so if A is equal to 12 minus 4 times D, which is negative 5, I've got 12 minus 20, which means that A has to be equal to negative 8. Okay, matrix. So that means that term 1 is going to be negative 8. Term 2 is going to be negative 8 minus 5, which will leave me with negative 13. And term 3 is going to be negative 8 minus 2 of 5 in this particular case, and that would be negative 18. Okay. Is everybody happy? Does that make sense? How do you feel? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Any questions? No questions? All right, let's go and have a look at the first traffic light. Okay, whoopsie daisy. And I just want to hide that. Oh, hold on. Matrix, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to go and grab. There we go. So I'm just going to take this block and go and shove it over there. Sorry, Matrix.
Do you have a question?
I want to ask you about the example that we're doing right now. Can you please go back up?
Sure, there we go.
Yes, can you please explain more details about how did you get the 13D and the 4D? Because I'm a little bit confused. I was a little bit lost about the whole situation.
That's fine. Renee, that's a very, very good question. Okay, it's really, really important that you know how to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move over and just write over here, right? So in all arithmetic patterns, all right, we call the first, and geometric for that matter, we always refer to term 1 as A. Because our nth term of any arithmetic pattern is a plus n minus 1d, we're always going to have one less d than we do n's, all right? So in other words, if I want to write term 5 is a plus 5 minus 1d. So that's where the a plus 4d, for example, comes from. All right, so there's always going to be one less d than term number. So this is something that you have to learn, Renewa. Okay, term 1 is a, term 2 is a plus 1d, or just d, because when we're in matric, we don't write 1 as a coefficient anymore. Term 3 is going to be a plus 2d. Term 4 is going to be a plus 3d. Does that make sense now, Renewa?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're just subbing into our term formula. Okay, so you need to know that off by heart. Whenever you see a question like the one that we've just done, that means that they're asking you to solve simultaneously and they want you to work in terms of A's and D's. Okay. Right, let's go and have a look at the first traffic light. Okay, so the green one. All right, matrix, this is very similar to what we've done. They just want you to do one step extra, which is determine the 100th term, right? But in order to find the 100th term, you need to work out what A and D are, right? Do you want to do this by yourselves, or do you want Katlego and I to guide you through this? Matrix? By yourselves. Okay, Trish, go for it. Okay, so give that a try. We're going to give you 5 minutes. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. And then, of course, when you've finished, you can pop a thumbs up or a happy face or whatever it is into the chat. And then Katlego and I know that you're done. Okay, cool. Well done, Trish. If you'd like, Trish, just while we're waiting for everybody else to finish, you can try the orange question if you want. That is something that we're going to look at. So just while everybody else is still working, just see what happens with that question. Cool, Renewa, well done. Good job. How's everybody else doing? Latabo, Joy, Ankarabile, Shade, Zamapila, how's it going? If you are struggling, don't be afraid to say so. There's absolutely no problem with that. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing all of this. We know, as I said to you earlier, no one's going to judge you. We just want to help you. You struggling, that's fine on Karibile, not a problem at all. Let's go through it. Okay, if anybody else is struggling as well, that's fine. Let's do this question together. Trish, if you want to, you can just have a look at the answer. Renewa as well, you can just look at the answer. If you still want to carry on with number 4 while I'm busy explaining this, you're more than welcome. Okay. All right, so on Karibile, what we would end up doing here is we would need to write equations for the 15th term is 100 and the third term is 28. And we've got to do it in terms of A's and D's. All right, so the first step All right, so writing the 15th term is 100. That would be A plus 14D is 100. Does that make sense to you? You know where that comes from? That was what we were discussing at the beginning. So Ankarabile, how would we write the third term? Any idea? We would write it as? So term 3 will be written as A plus 2D is 28. Okay, so the 15th term is, that's it, Sipasihle. Well done, very nice, good, good. And then I prefer the elimination method, right? If you prefer substitution, that's fine. So I like to eliminate because I think that's quicker. So that means that when I solved, I got an answer of D is equal to 6. I would then have to sub back in and calculate my A value, and I worked out that A was 16. All right, and then after doing that, working out the 100th term of the series, I would have said term 100 is A plus 99D. Okay, which then means I can go and sub in what my D is. So 16 plus 99 times 6, and that would give me an answer of 610. How did that go, Matrix? Thumbs up, thumbs down. How do you feel about question 2? Okay, you got everything except for A. Okay, so you wouldn't have been able to answer the question unless you'd got A. All right. Any other feedback? Anything else I can explain to you? No questions? Are you sure, Matrix? You sure no one's got any questions? Yes, Sipasihle, go for it. Sipasihle, I can't hear you. Katlego, can you hear Sipasihle?
No, I think maybe try in the chat because I can't hear specifically. I can see that.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Rather. I'm going to type it. All right, perfect. So type it, Sipasihle. I don't know why we can't hear you. Incidentally, Trish, did you manage to finish the orange question? Do you want to see what the answer is? Okay, so Sipasihle, you're saying, why don't we use the A plus 14D as 100? Okay, Sipasihle, we did. All right, we did use it. It's up here. Okay, so when I wrote my 2 equations, I had A plus 14D is 100. Why do we use 14 instead of 15? No problem. You're not done yet. Okay, that's fine, Trish. You mean the other? What, I don't know, what other Sipasihle?
I see Michelle asked, why do we use 14 instead of 15?
Do you want
Michelle,
to...
just remember that, sorry, Lee.
No, you answer, Michelle.
It's n minus 1. So if our n was 15, then we have to subtract 1, which is 14. So that's how we got the 14, as well as for the next line, that's how we got 2. So it was a third term, but n minus 1 is 2. So that's why we use the 14 and 15. Mashay, do you understand?
Oh, good job. Okay, so Mashay, it's always one less than the term number. Okay, just as Katlejo said, because we use a plus n minus 1d. All right, so Sipasihle, we did use the a plus 14d. That was our equation at the top. Our equation a plus 2d, that was the third term, is equal to 28. I've written underneath. And then I have solved simultaneously by eliminating. If you want to solve by substitution, that's fine. Okay, and then it's given me d. I've then subbed back in and worked out what a is. And then I've gone on to work out what the 100th term of the pattern is. Can I go? Sipasihle, you can use either one. So you don't have to do it with both. So whether you work out the value of a using a plus 14d is 100, or whether you work out the value of a using a plus 2d is 28, it will give you exactly the same answer. So personally, Sipasihle, what I like to do is I like to make my life as easy as possible. And because 2 is smaller than 14 and 28 is smaller than 100, I just always work with the smaller numbers. Does that make sense? Cool, no problem. All right, let's go and have a look at another slightly more difficult question. All right, so here, in example 2, the sum of the first 12 terms of an arithmetic series is 96. The third and sixth terms add up to 12. Determine the first term and the common difference. All right, so again, this is another problem-solving kind of question. Right? Let's break down the two sentences and try and make equations out of what they've given us. Again, we need to note that it's an arithmetic sequence or series in this particular case, which means that we need to work in terms of A's and D's when we are writing our terms. The other thing that we notice that's a little bit different from the previous question is that now they've started to talk about the sum. Okay, so the sum of the first 12 terms is 96. So 96 is a sum, right? The third and sixth terms add up to 12. So that means that 12 is also a sum in this case. All right, so the first thing that I want to write is that the sum to 12 is 96. But I need to expand on this. Sum to 12, right, means I've got to use my sum formula. So in other words, I'm using Sn equals n over 2, 2a plus n minus 1d. I know what this is. 96 is Sn. So these two over here are the same thing, all right? My 96 and my Sn are the same thing. So 96 is going over here. N over 2, and then here, 2a plus, I know what, sorry, I beg your pardon, I know what n is. They told me that it was 12 terms. Sorry, I've just scratched that out. They've told me that it was 12 terms. So over here, I need to replace that with 12. Let me just rub it out. And now I can put my 12 in there. Plus 12 minus 1, so that would be 11 times d. Okay, and that is the first equation I can make from the first sentence. The third and fourth terms add up to 12. So when they say the third and fourth terms, they are implying that I need to add those two together. So how will I write the third term in terms of A's and D's? I'll write the third term as A plus 2D. The sixth term and the sixth term, A plus 5D. Add up to 12. And there is my second equation. Right. How does that feel, everybody? Is that making sense? Now I need to collect like terms. So on the left-hand side, I've got 2a plus 7d is equal to 12. Right. Over here, if I just simplify this a little bit, is there a question? Okay, sorry, it's Lejo. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. And if I say 96 and I divide that by 6, I'm going to end up with 16. So is everybody happy with that? I've divided both the left and the right-hand side by 6. So I've got 16 is 2a plus 11d. Any questions? How did we get step 2? You mean this equation over here, CPC Claire? Yes, okay. It came from here, all right? So I'm going to highlight it for you, CPC Claire. When I said the third and the sixth terms add up to 12, this is it. There is the third term. There is the sixth term. They add up to 12. Does that make sense? All right, so it's basically taking the words and translating it into symbols, okay? A's and D's. So now you've got two equations. Let's just rewrite them over here, all right? So the first equation from the black, all right, was 2a plus 11d is 16. Then we've got an equation, all right, from where the star was. This is in red. 2a plus 7d is 12. Now again, because I've got the same coefficient on my a terms, I can eliminate my a terms by subtracting the one equation from the other. Is there a question? Okay, no problem. See, there wasn't a question. So 2a minus 2a means the a term is eliminated. 11 minus 7d means I'm going to end up with 4d, and 16 minus 12 means I'm going to end up with 4. Divide both sides by 4, and d is equal to 1 in this instance. All right, now even though I've used elimination, I have to sub back in. So I always prefer to use the equation with smaller numbers or one that doesn't have negatives in it. So I'm going to use the red equation. All right, so I'm going to write 2a plus 7 times, and then I'm going to sub in what d was. D was equal to 1 in this case. All right, is equal to 12. So 7 times 1 is 1. So 2a is equal to 12 minus 7, which leaves me with 5. So a is going to be equal to 5 over 2. Right, so I've answered the question. I've calculated the first term. Remember, the first term is a. So where they've asked me to calculate the first term, let's just get rid of all of that. So they've asked me to calculate the first term. The first term is a. They've asked me to calculate the common difference. The common difference is d. So there's my answer for d over here. All right, so where would they give us our marks? Well, there are always going to be accuracy marks on making your equations. Then there's going to be some kind of method mark for solving simultaneously. And then there would be a mark for the D and a mark for the A. So something like this is potentially out of 5 marks. Are there any questions? Matrix, you got any questions? Nothing? Sure? Okay, so now let's go and have a look at, we've already done question 2, right? So that's this one over here. I know, Trish, I said try and do question number 4. If you've done 4, then you're welcome to try question 6, Trish. So Question 6 is difficult. That's why it's got the red circle next to it. What I'd like you to do is try one question. So either you're going to do question 4, the orange question, or you're going to do question 6, the red question.
Lee, Onkarabile is asking for you to explain the last steps. The network was not good.
Oh, okay. So Onkarabile, when you say the last steps, do you mean when I solved simultaneously? So once I had established my 2 equations, okay, so I've now established my 2 equations on Karabile, all right? So this one over here, the one that I wrote in black, I'm just going to highlight it in a different color. So that's this one here. This equation here, I wrote there, okay? Then this equation that I wrote in red, I wrote underneath. Okay, and then I solved simultaneously by elimination. All right, because I've got 2a here and I've got 2a here, so it makes it easy for me to eliminate by subtracting the one equation from the other. So 2a minus 2a means my a term is gone. 11d minus 7d leaves me with 4d, and 16 minus 12 leaves me with 4. Okay, dividing both sides by 4, I get d is equal to 1. And now what I did on Karabile is I went and I had to sub back into one of these equations. So I picked the one with the smaller numbers. So because 2a plus 7d is 12 is just smaller, that's the one I used. You could sub back into 2a plus 11d is 16 if you wanted to. All right, and that's what I was doing in this step over here. So I was taking the one that I calculated, I was subbing it back in, and I was working out the value of a. All right, which is what the question asked me for. The question asked me for the first term, a, and the common difference, d. Okay, matrix. All right, so now I'm just going to put question 4 and question 6 here for you, and we're going to give you an opportunity to try these. If you're stuck with anything, then please ask Katlego and I to assist you. All right, so 5 minutes. Everybody happy? You feel you can do this on your own? Thumbs ups? Are you all right? Hello, Tumelo. Have you just joined us?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, nice to have you with us, Tumelo.
Thank you.
Okay, we're just trying some more difficult problem-solving kinds of questions. I've just explained how we would do this, and now everybody is either trying question number 4, the orange question, or question number 6, the red question. So it's one or the other. Okay.
All right. Thank you
All
for
right.
that, ma'am.
No problem, Tumelo. Yes. Don't hesitate to ask for help, Matrix. Okay, so you can give us a thumbs up when you finished. Is there anybody who's done with either question 4 or question 6? You stuck. That's fine, Chumela. Which question were you looking at? The orange or the red one?
Question 4, the orange one.
That's fine. Okay, so everybody else, is it okay if I explain the orange question now? Have I given you enough time to try it? Okay, so Chumela, I'm going to get started on the orange question. If anybody else has got any questions, then they can ask us. Let's just see. So Nkwazi said yes, and Sipihle said okay. All right, that's fine. Okay, so let's do the orange question. I've actually done it on the side over here, but sometime, let me just move this over. Okay, so Chumelo, they said to us the first term of an arithmetic sequence is 6. So over here, the first term of an arithmetic sequence is 6. Sorry. So that's why I've written A is 6. Then when they said to us that the sum of the first 5 terms is 250, that's why I've written sum of 5 to 250. Over here, I have subbed into, this is the SN formula. Okay, so here is Sn. Sn equals n5 over 2, open brackets, 2a plus n minus 1, 5 minus 1 times d. And then what I've done is I've simplified, all right? So the next step for me here is to get rid of this 2 at the bottom. And I do that by multiplying this side by 2 and this side by 2. So when I multiply by 2 on the right, 2 divided by 2 means that that cancels out. And 250 times 2 is the 500 that you can see. Then I've written my 5, open brackets, 2 times 6 is 12, plus 5 minus 1 is 4 times d. And then in this line over here, I've just expanded the brackets and removed them. So I've said 500 is 5 times 12 is 60, and 5 times 4d is 20. That means, because I only have one unknown, it means that I can solve for d. So now making 20d the subject to the formula. Ooh, did I do some? I think I've done something wrong here, because 500 minus 60 is not 400, is it? Haven't I made a mistake? Isn't this wrong?
Yes, it's supposed to
Yes.
be, where are we now?
It's supposed to be 440,
Yes,
isn't it?
Yes, 440. 500 minus 60 is 440.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how I got that wrong, but anyway, my apologies, which means, sorry guys, that would end up being wrong as well. Okay, so now I need to take 440 and I need to divide it by 20. All right, and hopefully, did I get the right answer? Okay, so I did have the right answer.
Yes, the answer's right.
Oh, the answer's correct. Sorry, guys. So the answer was correct. Okay, so I would have got D is 22. Then when they ask me to now go back, all right, and calculate the 12th term of the sequence, I'm now going to write T12. T12 is A plus 11 differences. So A was 6 plus 11 times D was 22. That comes from here, subbing it in over there, and then I get my answer. Okay, does that make sense? Tumelo, does that feel better?
Thank you so much, ma'am. It does feel better.
Oh, good. Yes, Trish, absolutely. If you did something that was slightly different and you still got 22, then I'm sure that's okay. I mean, it would be great if I could see what you've done, but if you are getting 22, then I'm assuming that it must be correct. Okay. Okay, and then you answered Sinisipo. Sinisipo, do you understand that now? Okay, you just reread the question. Okay, good. All right, so that leaves us 10 minutes to go and do something that's a little bit more difficult. All right, so let's go and have a look over here. Did anybody try question 6, by the way? So anybody who wants to look at the answer for question 6? No, okay. So what I went and did, Matrix, is I went and got a question from a past paper. Oh, sorry, I see there's something in the chat. You are stuck on question 6. Okay, Ronewa, let me just go back to that. Okay. Question 6 is a difficult one, isn't it, Ronewa? Right? Where did you get stuck?
I was doing the step that we were doing in example 2. So I couldn't find the method 2, so I can find the common difference and the first difference. So I'm stuck here.
Okay, that's fine. I see Colette was also asking about question 6. So let's do that together. All right. So instead of just going to the answer, what I'm going to do is, oopsie daisy, that I'm just going to do it over here on the side. Okay. So let's get a pen, and I'm trying to move this thing over and it doesn't want to move over. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's go for it. Okay, so the sum of the first 10 terms of an arithmetic series is 145. So does that make sense to you that I would write 145 is Sn is 10 over 2 times 2a plus n minus 1, so that would be 10 minus 1, so that would be 9 times d. Okay, so that would be the first equation, and that would have come from here. The sum of the first 10 terms of an arithmetic series is 145. Now, when they say the sum of its fourth and ninth term is 5 times the third term, this is what they're saying. They're saying that when I add term 4 to term 9, the value that I get is 3 times larger than the value of the third term. How am I going to, yes?
It's 5 times.
Oh, 5 times. Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. I haven't got my glasses on this evening. Thank you. Thanks. It's 5 times the value of the third term. Thank you, Kakeho. So now I need to write term 4 in terms of A's and D's, Renewa and Colette. Okay, so I'm going to write term 4 as A plus 3D. I'm going to write term 9 as A plus 8D, and that's going to be equal to 5 times term 3, which is going to be A plus 2D. Okay, so Colette, I think that's what you were saying. You and Renee were struggling with this. How did you write that second equation? And it would be like that. Okay, so now you'd need to expand the brackets, simplify, etc., etc. So that would give us 2A plus 11D is equal to 5A plus 10D. So taking the D's to one side and the A's to the other side, I'm going to end up with 1D on the left, and I'm going to end up with 3A on the right-hand side. And now what I'm going to do is go and sub back into equation number 1. All right, so I'm going to take this D is equal to 3A, and I'm going to replace the D over there with 3A. All right, matrix. So that would give me 145. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2A plus 9 times, and the difference is 3A, like so. Let's just do that. Sorry, is there something in the chat? Okay. Then what I can do is either I can expand the brackets if I want to, or I can divide by 5 on both sides. I suppose what I can do is just leave the 5 there for now. This is 2A plus, then that would be 27A, like so. So over here, 2A would be 29A. So 5 times 29 is going to leave me with 145A. Does that make sense, everyone? 145A on the right, 145 on the left. Divide both sides by 145, because 145 is the coefficient of A, and that means that A has to be equal to 1. All right, so going back up here, they wanted the value of the first term. So the value of the first term is A. So we worked out what A is 1, and now they want the constant difference. So they want D as well, right? So now we're going to go and sub back into this equation over here, matrix, and we're going to work out what D is. All right, so D is going to be equal to 3 times 1, so D is 3. So A is 1 and D is 3. Renewa and Colette, how do you feel about that?
To be honest, it was a little bit challenging, but yeah, I now understand.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, so that's the whole idea. All right, so this is meant to challenge you. So if it is challenging you a little bit, then I'm obviously very pleased about that. But hopefully it's not challenging you to the point where you think like, oh, I don't know what on earth's going on. I can't possibly do this. All right, this section does unfortunately lend itself very nicely to problem-solving questions. So if you go and have a look at past papers, you will see sort of the first few questions are your sort of level 1, level 2, everybody can do them. And invariably, there's always a super difficult 5 or 6 mark problem-solving kind of question. All right, so we will do more of those as time goes on. Once we've done geometric series and we've done sigma notation and sum to infinity, then in our advanced courses, I will also do some really difficult problem-solving questions involving those two concepts. All right, then next week, yes, Renewa.
Ma'am, can I ask you about this recording video? Where can I get this video records?
Oh, you mean this video here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Katlejo, where did they get the videos from?
Sorry, I was muted. I was saying Marilise confirmed that the videos will be available on the Watobe website. That's www.watobe.com. Let me just confirm. And they will be available on the Watobe YouTube page. So, it's watobe.co.za. So I'll write it in the chat.
Oh,
Not
oopsie.
.com, sorry.
Sorry, okay, I did that wrong.
www.watobe.co.za. Videos will be available on there. And if you sign up and register and everything, then you can access the videos as well as the quizzes and everything. And then on Watobe's YouTube page as well. So these will be made available to you after this. We are recording. And yeah, I'm just posting the correct link now.
Yeah, sorry, I wrote the wrong thing. My apologies, everybody. It's www.watobe.co.za. Okay, and not
Yes.
.com like I had put. Okay, so you will be able to go and have a look. Right, so then next week, when we get together, there's going to be a quiz on this section as well. All right, so once we're finished with this, then you can try the quiz that comes up for the advanced questions. All right, is there anything else that you wanted to ask about what we had done? I can't believe we're out of time already. No other questions, Matrix? Do you know where to go and find past papers on the DBE website?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, so one person said, okay, so Colette and, okay, so Sipisihle, you're saying yes. I don't know if that was you, Tumelo, that said yes. Okay, so Trish and Colette, what you would do is you would end up, okay, that's fine. Let's tell you how to do this. All right. If I do, can you see that? I've changed my screen.
I still see the OneNote, so
You still see OneNote. Okay, all right. Then in that case, what I'll have to do is, there we go. Let me share my screen. Okay. So can you see my screen now? So now if I go to Google Matrix, can you see this?
yes,
And I
yes,
go
you can see
to
it.
Department of Education, right? This is the website that I want to go to. So I want to click on here, Department of Education. There's Mrs. Mocheka, and we're going to scroll down, okay, until we get here where it says past exam papers grade 12. You click on that, and if you click on all, look at all of those past papers there. Okay, everything. Basically, you don't really want to do anything from 213 down to 2008 because that was the old syllabus. CAP started in 2014. So anything from this level over here all the way up to the top is what you want to do. Can you see that we've even put in the 2021 NSC June exams? So let's say we want to go and have a look at 2020 at the end of the year. So I would click on 2020. The languages come up first, so you keep scrolling down. I mean, this is good for you for all your subjects, not just maths. And then you scroll all the way down until eventually you get to mathematics over here. And look there, there's the answer book, there's the paper in English or in Afrikaans, and then they've got the memo as well. So you would just click on that, for example, and there it comes up. Okay, so there's a question about quadratic number patterns. Okay, this has got sigma notation in it. We'll get to that. All right, so that's where you would find them. Okay, Matrix? Does that help? Okay, so go and have a look because there is a wealth of information online. All right, so every time your teacher at school does a section and they finish it, go and do as many exam questions as you possibly can. And of course, come to Watobe and we'll help you here as well. Okay, I hope you found this useful and helpful. And we will see you again for the advanced